It's the eve of the Ontario election, and the parties on opposite ends of the political spectrum are in a very tight race, a statistical tie. Good afternoon, one day before we go to the polls.
And an online poll suggests the PC's NDP heading toward Election Day neck and neck. The Leger research poll indicates Conservatives have the support of 39% of decided voters, the NDP 38%, the Liberals trail at 18%. When asked who would be the best premier, 25% of respondents chose Andrea Horwath. PC leader Doug Ford received 23% support. Liberal leader Kathleen Wynne, 14% approval rating. And Tracy Toggs following NDP leader Andrea Horwath today. What's her message on the last day of campaigning, Tracy?
Well, Ken, Andrea knows that there are votes to be gained out there, and that's exactly what she's trying to do. She says she's trying to get to as many places as possible. She just left this campaign stop in this Scarborough Plaza behind me about 10 minutes ago, and this was her second stop in Scarborough today. When asked about whether she felt she needed an extra push in this area, she says, on the contrary, she just wants to spread her message on this last day of campaigning. NDP leader Andrea Horwath knows time is ticking.
With the vote coming tomorrow, I would say to families and to people who are still undecided, look carefully at your choices.
The choice, she says, is between an NDP government
that ensures that people have the prescription drug coverage and dental care that they need, that our young people can build a great life.
And one run by Doug Ford's PCs.
Everyday families are going to pay the price. They'll be paying the price when it comes to the services they need. They'll be paying the price when it comes to the supports that their children deserve.
This voter says he was undecided until today, and this choice was a difficult one.
More than ever, because it seems as though we're separating. It seems as though there's a divisiveness.
And on this last day of the campaign, the NDP is raising questions about the lawsuit against Doug Ford filed by Rob Ford's widow, Renata Ford.
Police investigations, the concerns being raised by Doug Ford's family members and Rob Ford's family. What is that going to mean for Ontarians? People are wondering, you know, if he does that to his own family, if he's made mistakes there, what does that mean about how he's going to put families first in Ontario?
Horwath admitting this has been a campaign muddier than most.
You know, I'm a tough cookie, a steel town scrapper, so I can handle it.
One last push to the finish line. And Horwath is now making her way to Brampton, and she will make 2 campaign stops in North York this afternoon. Reporting live, I'm Tracy Tong. Back to you, Michelle.
Thank you, Tracy.
CTV's Tracy Togg joins us now. She's with the campaign of the NDP on this final day here in Toronto. So, Tracy, regardless of whether Andrea Horwath's party wins or loses tomorrow, it seems clear she's going to do better than she did in the last 2 showings.
It does, Ken, but she has her eyes on the prize, and Horwath has had a very busy final day on the campaign trail. She just showed up here to the Toronto Centre candidates campaign office to surprise volunteers and thank them for the intense last few weeks.
Can you give me a hell yeah?
NDP leader Andrea Horwath is feeling confident ahead of Election Day.
Tomorrow's the big day, and we're going to take it over the top. Andrea! Andrea!
Riding on momentum to the last minute, Horwath is speaking directly to undecided voters to join the NDP movement.
Join us to make sure that tomorrow we stop Doug Ford and we make sure that our province is no longer run by a government that is full of cuts and private. You thought I was going to say full of something else, eh?
Using the final campaign hours to raise concerns over what Ontario would look like under Doug Ford's leadership.
There are too many questions about what Mr. Ford intends to do were he to be given the reins of the province tomorrow. I mean, he has not provided a fully costed platform.
This is one of the last times Andrea Horwath is boarding her campaign bus. Over the last 4 weeks, the bus has traveled more than 8,000 kilometers across the province. Today, Horwath is making half a dozen stops around the GTA.
We can fix our schools. We can give opportunity to our children. We can make sure people can afford a roof over their heads and food on their tables.
Successfully convincing this undecided voter to go orange.
I think in meeting her for this particular riding, depending on how things are, I may have to vote NDP.
One down, many more to go, but time is ticking.
Now, it will be a very busy election day for Horwath as well. She has already voted, but she will be visiting several ridings to see campaign volunteers before heading to Hamilton to watch the results come in. Reporting live, I'm Tracy Tong. Back to you, Michelle.
Thank you, Tracy. And there are new poll numbers tonight. Leger Research says the Conservatives have the support of 39% of decided voters, while the NDP has 38%. The Liberals trail at 18% support. We'll look at the leaders' individual popularity a little later.
NDP leader Andrea Horwath joins us now. So it's your last chance to win voters over. I heard you comparing Doug Ford to Donald Trump. Perhaps, at least in your eyes, Andrea, a natural comparison. Was that enough? Did you do enough to sway Liberal voters in your direction?
Well, I mean, I think it's true that Liberal voters have been thinking very carefully about joining us to help us stop Doug Ford, because Doug Ford will bring more cuts, more privatization, more corruption to Queen's Park, and nobody wants that. And the best way to stop him is to vote NDP this time.
Okay, so I know that you have a son, and I know that you didn't give him everything that he wanted, that you couldn't afford to, but you're promising a lot of things to Ontarians, and you know that we can't afford that.
Well, on the contrary, Ken, what we can't afford is massive tax cuts for the rich and the wealthiest corporations, and then massive cuts to our services, which are going to be very painful for families. And that's what Doug Ford is offering Ontarians. And that's why this campaign is so important, and why this election tomorrow is so important, because there's one vision that says the rich and most wealthy corporations need to pitch in a little more, so that in this unstable economic situation where young people can't find full-time work, where they're working casual, part-time, contract work, we can make sure that their prescription drugs are covered and they can get some dental care, as opposed to Mr. Ford, who's going to give those rich folks and corporations a tax cut while he cuts hospitals and he cuts schools and he makes life tougher for families. So our goal is to provide the services that people need, fix our long-term care system, fix our overcrowding in our hospitals, and it's going to take a little bit of extra help from those most able to help to fix the problems we have in Ontario.
Okay, so if he is talking about cutting corporate taxes, you're talking about raising them. We're talking about property taxes. We're talking about income taxes. We're talking as well about companies that are, in some cases, struggling to get to the $14 in another 6 months, the $15 an hour on the minimum wage side of things. South of the border, we see Donald Trump is very aggressive. And he has been cutting corporate taxes. Our tax system right now on the business side is pretty competitive, but if you're going to increase it even more, and you're going to go after entrepreneurs and you're going to go after professionals, then you get criticism from the others that it's not a good business climate, and it's not good for the economy. How do you respond to that?
Well, on the contrary, actually, our plan was put in place in full knowledge of Mr. Trump's changes that he was making in the States, and our tax rate will be completely competitive with other Canadian provinces, as well as the U.S. states that are our most close competitors, as well as trading partners. And so our plan won't have a negative impact in our standing in terms of the other jurisdictions, if you will. But what it will do is help us build better transit so that we can ensure that goods can move on our highways. That's what the business community wants. It'll make sure that our workforce is healthier and able to come to work, ready to work each and every day, which is something that helps the business community as well. When I talk to businesses, they tell me they want our electricity rates to be lower. They're very uncompetitive. Doug Ford has signed on to Kathleen Wynne's plan, and those rates are going to go up another 70%. These are the things that businesses tell me that they are concerned about. Plus, they want to make sure that they have a respectful partner at Queen's Park that will give them ample warning if a change is coming down the line. We might not always agree, but I have been very clear with the business community. I will always be respectful and ensure that I'm giving them advance notice of any changes so that they can adjust and be ready to change their business plans in order to continue to succeed. And that's extremely important.
All right, Andrea Horwath, thank you for joining us tonight, and hopefully we'll get the chance to chat tomorrow night. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Ken. Take care.
A look at Queen's Park on this election eve. In less than 24 hours, we should know who will hold the power here as Ontario voters prepare to make their choice. Good evening. If you are tired of the political bickering, sniping, and name-calling, you can breathe a sigh of relief tonight. The announcements and photo ops are behind us. The stumping is finished, and come tomorrow, the decision is all yours. Let's go straight to CTV's Miranda Anthesel, who is live outside of Queen's Park tonight. Miranda, the campaigning is over.
Zoraida, after weeks of campaigning and mudslinging, yes, we are that much closer to finding out who is going to be the next Ontario Premier. Today was the last day on the campaign trail. All of the leaders were out trying to appeal to undecided voters.
What is that going to mean for Ontarians? People are wondering, you know, if he does that to his own family, if he's made mistakes there, what does that mean about how he's going to put families first in Ontario?
Families first, the mantra the NDP has been pushing along the campaign trail. And on the eve of the election, the leader isn't slowing down.
We can fix our schools. We can give opportunity to our children. We can make sure people can afford a roof over their heads and food on their tables.